Could a video, a message like this, pumping in the media over and over again, play a significant role toward anti-whiteism? Could this have played a role in brainwashing the masses, at least many of our young people?
Let's not forget the speech he gave where he's standing in front of a giant building where it's got a full blood red background, talking about how bad MAGA supporters are.
Yeah, which is a lot of people, majority of them all white.
Yeah.
Which left a message behind that is saying these are the problems in our country.
Very imperialistic.
Yes. The message that was left is that these are the problems in this country. And if there is a problem, right, somebody has to fix it, address it, correct it, right? How do you go about correcting this problem, right? Let's listen.
And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism. And white supremacists will not have the last word. And this venom and violence cannot be the story of our time. Enough of us have the guts and the hearts to stand up. To stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. According to the United States intelligence community, domestic terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland. White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through, it really is. Running through our body politic. And it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes. No more. I mean, no more. That the ideology of white supremacy has no place in America. None.
You know what they say, it all starts at the top. Everything rolls downhill.
Exactly. So it's not just TikTok.
I mean, let's keep in mind the man you saw speaking on screen right there gave the eulogy of Robert Byrd, a prominent KKK member.
Yeah. Wasn't he the
and called him a friend and mentor at his eulogy.
So this is the guy who's now advocating against white supremacists and for the voice of the minority. All right.
Quote unquote.
We get it. All right. So we're gonna take a few of this. We're not gonna take much of this. Okay.
Talk about a joke.
So we just talked about the head speaking against white supremacists. And again, the problem is it's so vague. They're not being specific about who are the white supremacists. But when you hear the message, they link white supremacists to anybody who believes Donald Trump. Anybody who's part of the MAGA movement become white supremacists.
Anybody who doesn't believe like they do.
Yeah. Anybody who's against abortion, against the trans community, if you advocate for any of that, you can fall in line with white supremacists. And a message like this now is being pumped on the other side. So you dehumanize a group of people, and then you have a message that's saying things like this. Where could this go? Well, let's listen.
More than 50% of transgender youth in the U.S., which is estimated to be more than 150,000 kids, live in states in which transgender youth have lost access to or at risk of losing access to gender-affirming care. Look, this is awful news. Let's be very clear about that. LGBTQI+ kids are resilient. They are fierce. They fight back. They're not going anywhere. What we have seen from Republicans just across the country as it relates to transgender youth, as it relates to the LGBTQI+ community, we've seen more than 600 bills. Many of those are targeted at transgender youth. And that is something that the president's going to continue to speak out against. It is appalling what we're seeing, the hate, the attack on this community. Well, the president has been very clear in his message to the LGBTQI+ community, in particular, as we're seeing these, I believe there's more than 600 bills coming out of state houses across the country. Majority of those bills, or a few hundred of those bills, go after trans community, especially our trans kids and their families. And the president has been very clear in saying we have their backs. We will continue to support them. The president has a history and a record on supporting this community, and he'll continue to do that. These anti-LGBTQ bills that we're seeing in state legislatures across the country, in particular these anti-trans bills, as they attack trans kids, as they attack trans parents, it is shameful and it is unacceptable. As you mentioned, tomorrow's Trans Visibility Day, on a day that we should be lifting up our trans kids, our trans youth, and making sure that they feel seen. We're seeing more and more of these hateful bills. Transgender kids are dangerous. It sounds like that's what you're saying. Well, you're saying that their safety is at risk. Yeah, but you're laying out a broad example or explanation of what could potentially happen. A broad example explanation. That is dangerous. That is a dangerous thing to say, that essentially transgender kids we're talking about are dangerous. And so that's something that I have to call out. And that is irresponsible. These are kids. These are our kids. They belong to all of us. And just think about that. Just think about a kid who's sitting at home in this community, who's listening and hearing elected officials talking about how they want to take away their rights, or how they want to even threaten their parents with felony charges for seeking health care for their children. These kids are sitting at home having to listen to people who are supposed to protect them and their freedom.
There's been many times at the podium where I have called out these pieces of legislation, reach out to the trans community, to reach out to the LGBTQ plus community from the podium, so that they know what this administration is going to continue to do, which is fight, have their back, continue to stand with them as they're going through a truly devastating and horrific time.
I know, guys. I know. I'm feeding a lot. I know. We're not stopping these videos for good reasons. We're applying context, and we're saying this is what's being said. We're not saying we're agreeing with everything. All right. Here's the thing. Abraham Kendi said, Darth Vader, anytime you can comment. A nugget of critical race theory by Abraham X. Kendi. Bram and Kent X. Kendi. Let me get it right. Abraham. You corrected me earlier. Mm-hmm. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. What in the world does that mean?
It's circular logic, and it doesn't fix anything. In order to fix discrimination, you need to discriminate now and more in the future. Mm-hmm. He's just basically a black racist. Mm-hmm. That's all it boils down to. I just sent you a link in Discord, by the way. You might want to pull that up based on what we just watched.
Okay, definitely.
Because Biden hasn't always been for gay rights. Mm-hmm.
According to Robin DiAngelo in her book White Fragility, whiteness rests upon the foundational premise. The definition of whiteness as the norm or standard for human and people of color as a deviation from that norm. So they have applied a definition to the word whiteness as deviation from the norm. Okay. White fragility, discomfort, and defensiveness on the part of white person when confronted by information about racial inequality and injustice. So if a white person have an issue and push back against racial inequality, you call it white fragility. Fragility. Okay. Go ahead, Darth Vader. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
So if you show mine here, I believe I'm sharing mine.
Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm.
So here's an article by the New York Times back in 2021. It says Joseph R. Biden voted for the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996, blocking federal recognition of same-sex marriages. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he was against gay marriage back in 96. Doesn't sound like he was for it back then. 2 years earlier, he voted to cut off federal funds to schools that teach acceptance of homosexuality.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. In 1973, Mr. Biden, in an offhanded response to a question, wondered if homosexuals in the military or government were potential security risks. Interesting. But today, Mr. Biden, the presumptive Democrat nominee for president, has also completely identified himself with positions embraced by LGBTQ leaders.
Wow, what a conversion.
Gee, awful convenient that he decided to change sides.
How could that be? Why would that be? Appeal to the minority class?
All these years, up through 96 and on through, he was against it. Now, all of a sudden, he's running for election again, and now he's all for it. And now that he's president, he's trying to pass all these laws.
Good point.
I mean, even up until 2016, still opposed same-sex marriage. Right here.
So there's something very political behind his change. Somebody said maybe he grew up, he realized, okay, I don't need to be like this anymore. But most politicians do what they do for votes and power. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
That's all I wanted to share with everyone.
All right. Listen, guys. So this manifesto has been released. It's been confirmed that it is the real thing. It's been confirmed. I can't read everything in the manifesto, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. From what I heard is listening to reading some of the stuff and listening to it. And by the way, if you want to hear what is in this manifesto fully, without me pausing, you just go to our Look and Live on Locals. So I will share that with you. The link is in the description, by the way. So you can go listen to that. All right, I did an 8 minutes video. I cut out the part when Louder Ricardo read it. And I've also shared the original video where it came from. So the top one here is the manifesto being read, and the bottom one here was the long live stream that we recorded. All right, so let's listen to this news clip.
It's legitimately chilling.
Yeah, let's listen to the news clip, because when you hear the words that are in this manifesto, guys, if you were to flip the script, right? You were to flip the script and you say, let's just say that shooter was a white supremacist, and the manifesto had the words in it speaking about either trans or black people.
Well, I mean, we've had shooters like that. That's the point. And immediately after that happened, their manifesto was out for the entire public to see.
Yeah.
But because of this one and this circumstance, it just vanished into thin air.
We were promised the manifesto in the beginning.
No, we weren't.
Well, we were told this. They have a manifesto.
They have it.
They have it, but they never. It was supposed to be released. For some reason, it just never happened. It's been 7 months. And when you read what's in the manifesto, you say almost 9.
Yeah, it's been almost 9 months.
When you read what's in the manifesto, which we can't do that now, and I'll be more glad to. I'll give you the video that you need, and I'll link to this thing, and you can go and do that yourself. It is the word, chilling, disturbing, shocking. All right, let's listen to this.
Well, today, 3 pages of the Covenant Shooter's so-called manifesto were displayed online by conservative talk show host Steven Crowder. We have a reaction from those at the school and at the state capitol. Good evening and welcome to News 2 at 6. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Haley Wilkes. News 2's Nikki McGee spoke directly with Crowder today. She has more about what was in these pages and why he says it was important that they be released. Nikki.
Well, Bob, Haley, conservative host Steven Crowder continued to double down today that these pages are authentic. He says a detective from Metro Police shared them with his source, and his investigative team then came here to Tennessee to verify them. Now, one date dated on March 27, talks about a, quote, death date, and Hale was reportedly ready for these attacks. Another page, marked February 3rd, refers to a white privilege reference, as well as derogatory words used towards kids, including a slur towards gay people. Finally, a third page that doesn't show a date has a timeline for this attack. However, it wasn't followed exactly. Today, Crowder told me he believes releasing these documents could help prevent another school shooting.
Conspiracies when our national intelligence agencies, when the FBI, the DOJ, and local police department, not to mention all of media and big tech, decide that this will no longer be covered, when the issue at hand, as far as covering it now, is knowledge can be gleaned that can actually help people moving forward, avoid shootings like this, potentially avoid our missteps. Hey, this is the byproduct of the kind of ideology in which all of our children in public schools are being steeped.
Now, we did ask Metro Police if these pictures were in fact taken by a detective. They told us they didn't know, but said they were not crime scene photos. Bob?
They didn't know. Sure. That's just them covering their backside. Oh, I think you're muted. Pastor, I think you're muted.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I thought I pressed it. Wow. This is crazy. So now the attack is not so much on the content of the manifesto. The attack is on Steven Crowder. So that means if the manifesto is true, shouldn't we be talking about the nature of the message that's in it?
Or if it wasn't true, then why are they going after Steven?
Hey, Megan, haven't seen her for a while. How are you doing?
Megan, good evening. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, indeed. So yeah, well, still morning for me.
Morning.
Somebody is definitely covering something up.
But that's my question is if what he put out there is not accurate, why are they going after him so hard and trying to discredit what he put out there?
Oh, good point. Well, maybe they should release the original to show that Steven Crowder is up to no good.
Yeah.
I think it's only common to say, if you don't tell people the truth, they're going to find it somewhere, right? They're either going to create a narrative or they're going to find a way to get to the truth. I think what you don't want to do is cover up something if there's a possibility that there's something in it that people need to see. I don't think it is going to work in their favor. And I think what's going on here, I think Steven Crowder is onto something. I don't think he's have evil motive. I've listened to his live streams. He's a comedian, and he seems to care more about people than anything. When the mainstream media fail to do their job, the alternative media have to step up.
And that's exactly what he did.
So I don't blame Steven Crowder here for saying what he said. So some people are not very happy. Of course, you know. Well, there was this video that I wanted to share with you. Let me see. I think it's on Discord. But a lot more could be said about some of this stuff. So
I
gotta find that guy who went out. Oh, there he is. All right, listen to this.
Unimaginable.
Listen to this. This is the reaction Steven Crowder got for releasing the manifesto. Right, this is a person speaking on behalf of the family, and the argument is this could inspire more people to do stuff like this, and this is evil for releasing it. But keep in mind, every other manifesto has been revealed about any mass shooter before.
But the problem is this is shining a light on what the true problem we have in our country is.
Good point.
And this is what everybody in power and the mainstream media don't want. They want that problem to continue. Because if that problem goes
if what you're saying
away,
is true, that will make them very, very evil.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Because if that problem goes away, they have nothing to fix.
Wow. All right.
They have nothing to step in to fix.
All right. Let's look at it. Let's look at this.
Unimaginable terror.
That's how Brent Leatherwood describes the day in March when a shooter entered the Covenant school, killing 3 kids and 3 staff members. His 3 kids survived the shooting, but his heart aches even more after a conservative talk show host leaked images of the shooter's writings.
So now, a community, a school, families who have already suffered so much were left yet again to deal with this terror.
Earlier this year, Covenant School parents filed a lawsuit to prevent the writings from being released to the public, concerned that this would ensue another attack.
We saw this in Allen, Texas, where that shooter referenced the Covenant shooter. How many more people have to be killed in a senseless way so that you can get clicks?
He shared a strong message to the person in law enforcement who leaked the images of the writings.
You are a viper. You're a member of the law enforcement community. And you have released evidence that was gathered in our most vulnerable moment. You have now allowed this woman who terrorized our family with bullets to be able to now terrorize us with words from the grave. How could you?
Is something he and other Covenant families tried to avoid. And now his message to the person who shared the writings online.
The online shock jock who aired these images, I would challenge him and anyone who amplifies them online. Just be a human for once.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Darth Vader.
You know what? We are being human. We are trying to put a spotlight on something that we've been trying to put a spotlight on for some time. People like this have a mental condition, and that is going untreated can lead to things that are a huge problem and cause massive devastation for people and ruin lives.
I get it.
This is the problem that we are facing. It's not a pew-pew issue.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mental health crisis and a spiritual crisis.
Absolutely.
This is why this stuff needs to be put out there so that we know what we're up against.
So the question now is, putting out the manifesto was bad, but talking the news that were all over the place talking about it wasn't that inspiring as well? From my perspective, if the manifesto is the main issue,
and why
that needs to be covered up,
and why is this manifesto any different from any other manifesto that's been put out previously from any other shooter?
If I may play the devil advocate, they could say it's because the shooter was younger and they were targeting children, right?
Okay.
And other manifestos that were targeting adult, which still doesn't make it right because
the Rochester shooter was targeting black people.
Good point. Yeah, my thing is, my argument now is
there's another shooter that was targeting people in a gay club. What's the difference?
Yes. Good point.
What's the difference?
I'll tell you something.
Every shooter targets a specific demographic. It doesn't matter. It's a mental health issue.
Okay. Here's the thing. I'm with you on that. Reddit said this. Poor mass shooter. She was the real victim.
Oh, please.
Really?
Give me a break.
Wow.
No.
How so?
How is she the victim?
Elon Musk added saying, racism is racism. It is evil, no matter who is targeted.
Exactly.
End of story.
Exactly.
That sounds more like true to
Logic.
me. That's logic. Oh, this is a good one. Larry Elder. Trump Jr. says Nashville shooters leak manifesto shatters Biden's admin's MAGA narrative.
Exactly. That's exactly what it does. And that's what they're trying to prevent. Because look at, you know what? If you go back and you look at the 2020 election, okay, had people found out that the Hunter Biden laptop was real and legit,
it could have changed.
17% of voters would have changed their vote. That would have been enough to win Trump the election, flat out, without all this other rigmarole that's going on.
True. But that was kept from the people.
So it was kept away from the people long enough that they could sneak by and skate it by to get Biden into office. And then it came out later that, oh, yeah, it is true.
Too late now when it can't really do anything.
Exactly.
I love her remark.
It's like, come
By
on,
the way, Larry Elder said the document allegedly discloses Hale's intention to target white, privileged students before being confronted by law enforcement. By the way, there was a black person killed in that group as well. It seems to me this is more than just white people. There is a hatred toward anybody who has money, private schools, and that individual also believe if they're Christians, there are problems. Okay. These are information I think, being a Christian, I need to know about.
Yeah.
Savannah Hernandez says, portion of the Audrey Hale's manifesto have been leaked and highlight how a transgender person targeted and murdered white Christian American children on the basics of their race and privilege. It disgusts me that our own leaders are directly responsible for perpetuating these types of attacks.
This completely destroys the CRT narrative.
Yeah, good point. Not only will there ever acknowledge the racism white Americans are being targeted with every day, but will continue to perpetuate it by telling us that white supremacists and Islamophobia are the greatest threats to our country.
Because they need a boogeyman, and this is their boogeyman that they've chosen.
Good point.
Without a boogeyman, they have nothing to save America from.
This is what I said earlier. You're right. Proud Army brat. Had Audrey Hale's manifesto showed an evil hate for the black race, it would have been released immediately.
Just like the Rochester one did. Seriously, the Rochester shooter who went into a grocery store and shot up the grocery store, his manifesto was released the next day.
But in this case,
why did it take 9 months and investigative journalists to go digging for this one?
But also, Candace Owens and Vivek Ramaswamy, they were suing in the hope of getting that manifesto. No luck whatsoever. You know, the deafening is loud, man. How can anybody not be skeptical? There is something diabolical behind this for keeping this away from the eyes of the public, knowing the possibility of this happening over and over again if people remain ignorant of the fact. I understand the families who do not want this out there. How many other manifestos were revealed where the family didn't want it out there and was revealed anyway?
Because this destroys two narratives.
Something is really evil behind this.
This destroys two narratives at once. Number one, it destroys CRT.
Okay, critical race theory.
And it destroys the children transgendering theory.
True. And it also destroys the gun is the problem theory, right? Would you pull that in the children?
Yeah, that I would put that into the mental health category with children transitioning. Transitioning children is a horrible idea and should never be done. We should be protecting our children at all costs. That's the whole point of what the Republicans are doing.
Yeah, but I think the theory that says children are under attack because they're trying to change their sex, that theory is also destroyed, because if you say they're under attack, right? But they're the one doing the attacking. It's kind of like, which one is it? And somebody can say they're just retaliating, but the numbers don't show that trans people are dying. Now, there are trans people who have died.
It does.
It does.
Even pre and post op, they still have the same rate of suicide.
Yes. But the ones that are dying, they don't tell you the reasons why they're dying. They're not dying simply because they are trans. If they're either murdered and stuff like that, it's like just like everybody else get killed in the world.
Or from complications.
Different reasons of stuff. But to say that they're dying because they're trans in the United States. Now, if you said this was happening somewhere in Palestine, I understand. Right. But in the United States, we are the most tolerant people, at least among the most tolerant people when it comes to the LGBT.
Persecution is the smallest portion of that type of death.
Yeah, but they magnify it as if this is the worst thing that's happening in the country, which I find to be completely irrational.
Because they need the boogeyman to save you from. That's the point. You need to be in that victimhood mindset. The government needs to step in and save you from the big bad boogeyman. If there's no boogeyman, who's the government going to save you from?
Printed.
Well, I'll tell you what, whether people likes it or not, I think Steven Crowder's revealing this is definitely making a lot of noise online, and they cannot ignore it. Members of Congress also spoke. His name is Glenn. Was it Grafman? He addressed it slightly, but I can see more people are going to start talking about this. He needs attention.
Seriously, why are if this wasn't my main thing is, if this wasn't authentic and accurate, why are so many people against it? I just want everybody to think about that for just 1 second.
Megan says because they were transgender. That's a simple answer, but I think there's more to it. Like you said earlier, and I'm beginning to believe you a lot more. There's a narrative that is being protected here, and I think it goes back to being political. This is being politicized. It should not be, because we're talking about human lives, we're talking about preventing deaths. But this is being politicized by, obviously, the Democratic Party to push a narrative that says that there's nothing wrong with trans people. Guns are still the problem. And white people are still
the problem.
White supremacists are the greatest threats in this country. Let me be honest with you. I'm not sure if you guys can see. I'm a black man.
And I know you can't see me, but I'm a white guy.
Yeah, I'm a black man. And I'll tell you what. I have a black wife, and I have 4 black children, and we have 2 that we added to the family. They're more Hispanics, but so we have children. Can I be honest with you? White supremacists is the least of our worries. I'm not lying. We don't discuss it. We don't think about it. It's not on our table. My wife and I never even mentioned that word in the house with our children. And we have children that are at the age 20. We have a 22-year-old. If you were to sit with him, how many times did we tell you to be afraid of white supremacists? He would be like, huh? We're afraid of a lot of things. We're afraid of disease. We are afraid of people busting in our homes and doing things they're not supposed to do to our children. We're not afraid to the point where they control our lives. Afraid to the point where we're being careful. I hope you understand that. We're afraid of getting into a car accident. We're afraid we're actually going on a trip soon and we have to get on a boat. So like the kids were like, oh my goodness, I'm not sure about a boat. I'm like, listen, man, you get in the car and the likelihood of you dying in the car is so much higher than a boat. I say, relax. So we're afraid of a lot of different things, all right? We're afraid of our freedom and things like that. We're afraid of losing money. We're afraid of spending too much money at the grocery store. One thing we're not afraid of is white supremacists. You know why? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's not a threat. The average black person is not worrying about white supremacists. We just don't. It's not a part of our conversation. Okay, so thank God for that.
And I'll tell you, the average white person isn't a white supremacist like everybody wants you to believe. They're not racist. Not every white person is racist.
And it's one of those boogeymen that they're trying to create.
They're gaslighting people.
Just want to say that as a black man, some of you want to believe me.
And a white man.
And a white man as well. That's not our fears. We're not worrying about that.
Like, legitimately. I mean, I don't know how to say enough that I don't go around and say, oh, well, this guy's black, so I got to keep an eye out for him. Ooh, scary black man. No, I see a dude. Okay. Hey, how's it going, my man? You know, whatever.
That's it. Life goes on.
Yeah. I don't treat any one person any different than another until they give me reason to. Plain and simple as that.
Mike, we welcome you here, and we don't care about your ideology or political position. Thanks for being here. All right, let's keep going.
Printed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Wisconsin seek recognition?
Like an opportunity to speak for 1 minute.
Without objection, you are recognized.
I'm going to address today a news story that didn't receive probably as much publicity as it should have, but it goes a little bit more to the wokeization of all levels of government, including local government, apparently including even what you would consider to be a conservative city of Nashville, Tennessee. You will recall last March there was a Nashville shooter, Aiden Hale, who killed 6 people in the Covenant School in Nashville. At the time, we were told that nobody knew what his motivation was, that he just had a rambling manifesto, and us little people didn't have to know any more about it. It recently came out on the internet that this murderer of 6 people was a transgender who was motivated in part by Christian hatred and apparently a negative on blonde hatred too. In other words, a super woke person who decided to kill 6 people. As scary as that is, it's just as scary that the authorities in Nashville are now investigating who leaked what motivated the shooter. In other words, our new government is scared to death of any narrative that intervenes with the overall woke agenda. I hope in the future the press corps does not say that it's a problem when this is exposed, but encourages local police to expose manifestos of multiple shooters so we know what really motivates them, even if it's something like transgenderism. Thank you.
You dropped a bomb in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, y'all can do whatever you want with that.
He's got a point, though. I mean, there's no reason this should have been hidden for this long.
It should not. And it makes matters worse. If this was released from the start, could you imagine people would have been able to cope with it? You know what I'm saying? We could have been able to say, you know what, this is what's going on. We understand it. Now, this is what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen.
And move on.
Right? But instead, it was kept. Now it came out.
And you let it fester like a sore wound.
Yeah.
That got gangrene. And now here we are. It's like we're amputating a limb now because of it.
Yeah, now we have to do a live stream about this. The Bible says, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. Another scripture says in Mark 4:22, for there is nothing hidden which shall not be revealed, nor has anything been kept secret, which that it should not come. I'm sorry, let me read that again. For there is nothing hidden which shall not be revealed, nor has anything been kept secret, but that it should come to light. The point is that
you can only keep the truth hidden for so long.
You can only hide the truth for so long. You can only do that for so long. If you look at all the narratives, right? COVIDism, climatism, wokeism, Black Lives Matter, like all this stuff.
They're all crumbling.
Have you noticed? Yeah, they're all coming apart because it was based on a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the lie, it doesn't last long. It's very fast. It picks up speed very, very fast.
It's like you said,
tired.
it'll circle around the world 10 times while the truth is still putting on its shoes.
Yeah, the truth is still putting on its shoes. The lie will run, halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on your shoes. But the thing is, eventually the truth gets tired. I mean, the lie gets tired. The truth walks with confidence. He takes his time.
Grace.
Yeah, he takes his time. He just keeps walking. He doesn't get tired because when it's time for the truth to come out, he will come out and the lie will be exposed as the lie. The solution now is not, let's get Steven Crowder. The solution now is to say, what in the world is going on?
Well, not to a normal person. According to the media and everybody else, that's their solution.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be that. The solution should be, what can we say? What can we check to make sure our children are not
safe.
being imbibed in this type of ideology that could lead to this? And the second thing is we need to be addressing the perspective that goes into all of that. And to make sure next time something like this happens, it is released right away, because we're going to have a situation like this.
Prevent something like this from happening again.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I mean, really, you stop and think about it. How many Colin Noir?
Yeah.
I think, was it Colin Noir? I can't remember if it was Colin Noir or Armed Scholars I saw it on. They did a breakdown of a study where they showed that there was, or maybe it was during the Steven Crowder show. Percentages of mass shootings that were stopped.
A whole lot more.
You know,
they don't get media attention.
31% were stopped by like police and stuff like that and whatnot. 51% were stopped by private citizens owning firearms.
Ooh, boy.
51%, over half, were stopped by private firearm ownership. So you tell me, how is it taking away guns from legal gun owners
is the solution, man?
Is the solution?
I hear you, man. 1984. Ignorance is strength.
And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to wake people up to the truth. That's what our job is here on this channel. We're trying to make people see what is going on.
Yeah.